And peace and stability of this country. With your cooperation, we can make it better. I use
Crime Fighters, promoting security consciousness.
Hello viewers, welcome to Crime Fighters, the police and you. My name is Aisha Tosan. Today, we have a guest in our midst. He is the #1 security officer of the nation, the first cop of the nation, the first policeman, as it were, and the 16th indigenous inspector general of police. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Mohammed Dairu Abubakar, who in the next 30 minutes will be taking questions on what his administration has done in the last 23 months within the context of the security challenges confronting our nation. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Aisha. It's good to be with you.
Sir, it celebrates that in the last 23 months, like I introduced to the audience, we have not interviewed you. We thought it wise that we should allow you settle in and then see what your administration will put in place for Nigerians and indeed for officers and men of the force. I would start by taking you back to your inaugural speech. You did mention when you came on board that you're going to have a total transformation of the Nigeria police force, internal and external, while you're looking at the problems that are inherent in the force. You're also going to look at what you're going to do to tackle the external problems that we have, i.e. the security challenges that were inherent in the country. Then, January 25th will be 2 years on the seat as the Inspector General of Police. What has the journey been like?
Very challenging, and I want to thank you for this interview and to thank you for not coming to actually, like you said, talked about what we have done, because you have given me the opportunity to do what I'm supposed to do, because I believe when you come into an office, the best bet is not for you to begin to run your mouth, but to put those mission and objectives of transforming an agency, particularly like the Nigeria Police. You are aware of the fact that we came in at a very challenging period in the history of Nigeria in terms of safety and security of life and property of the citizens of this country and Nigeria in general context. We came in when almost every state in this country there were bombings, killings. So if you can compare and contrast the differences, today we are much better in terms of safety and security, with the exception probably of 3 states. Borno, Yobe, more particularly than by extension Adamawa State. But even then, we have done what we are supposed to do as a primary lead agency of internal security in this country before declaration of the state of emergency by Mr. President. But let me go back a little to say that it's an opportunity to thank Mr. President for having me for finding me worthy of this appointment, and at the same time to thank the Almighty God for giving me the opportunity, and officers and men of the force too for the confidence in me to do what I'm supposed to do. It's been very challenging, but like I said during my statement, we have resolved with the police management that we'll do our best within the available resources, because no matter what you want to do in engineering a particular agency of government or department or a state or even a nation, the competing demands of resources become very critical, and Nigerians are aware of the fact that Nigeria police have been very seriously underfunded, not just this time around, but years back. And you can see the critical example of the police college, where for 40 years the police college have not been able to be put in the best of situation in terms of facilities than now that this administration did it. We started as a management with a key appointment of people I believe that they can be able to assist me in running the administration of the Nigeria police. And I equally want to say that the management have been off and doing. They They have been very supportive. They have been very loyal. We had a vision and mission to build a Nigeria police force for the people of Nigeria. A police force that is well-trained, well-motivated, competent and capable enough to be able to take the security challenges of today and be prepared to take the security challenges that will come in the future of this country. But along the line, when you make statements of this nature, these are your intentions. Intentions are supposed to be practicalized in the sense that training is the most important thing. You must be able to give your officers and men the required scientific and modern training, good enough to be able to do those things that you expect them to do in terms of crime fighting and policy in Nigeria, because crime is not static. So therefore, you expect the criminals to are faster and speedy in doing their acts. This is one area we have issues. And the first thing I did was to go around this country to see things for myself. Not necessarily even seeing the things for myself, because some of them I do know. But to give me the opportunity to see the officers and men themselves, because no matter what you do, it is the man behind the gun that makes the job. It's not the gun itself. So to see the officers, sit down with them, listen to their challenges, listen to their problems, tell them my ideas, what we intend to do, and rub minds, and seek for their own opinion. That is the paradigm shift we took, for us to have an all-inclusive administration where officers and men can be able to see the Inspector General as an ordinary policeman like themselves. To be able to say, yes, I can speak to the IG politely, with a lot of respect and discipline. And I think that is what is key. And I did that. I went around the country, saw things. There are other things that ordinarily I presumed that are in the best of situations. One, particularly the issue of barracks. You come to understand till today, the Nigeria police, being the oldest force in this country, unfortunately, cannot say it's in the best of situation. In terms of barracks accommodation, in terms of office accommodation, in terms of training facilities, not much have been done in terms of these areas of infrastructure. So that gives me a lot of concern and worry. Came back to the drawing board to look at what could be done. And if you remember, I declared a state of emergency on the training institutions because of the fact that the training institutions were not good and conducive enough for us to be able to carry out the necessary and required and desired training for officers and men. We came back to look at the issue of welfare. Welfare and well-being of officers and men is very, very paramount, and particularly members of the rank and file and the inspectorate, because these are the foot soldiers of the Nigeria police. And to the best I do know, all years where we are coming from, these are the co-officers that have not been cared for the way they should be cared for. We are not saying that we have done all we're supposed to have done, but honestly speaking, we have paid very greater attention in terms of their welfare, in terms of their well-being, in terms of even promotion, which is a key motivational factor in enhancing performance and service delivery in terms of service.
Sir, let me just quickly chip in here for you to just sum up this aspect. You talked about the barracks accommodation. You've done so much in terms of providing accommodation for ownership occupier bases. What about the barrack itself? Have you done anything about the barrack itself, which is of course key to the well-being of the officers? You know, I'm talking in terms of the property that is owned by the police, not the owner occupier bases that you have embarked on.
We have done something. There are a number of barracks that we have renovated all over the country, but unfortunately not as much as we desire to do, because that has to do with funding, and funding is a key factor whereby you have barracks for over 50, 60 years that have not been attended to. It is practically impossible for you to, under 2 years, be able to bring these barracks to where they are supposed to be. But we have a dominant number of barracks in the country that you can look at and see that even from here in Abuja, if you go to the cantonment itself, the police cantonment that was built by IGP Ibrahim Kumasi for years, the first police cantonment ever built. If you go there, that cantonment is being under renovation. We're changing the structures and ensuring that we put it right to give it the desire that it's supposed to be. If you go to the Maitama police barrack where we have officers, the place is leaking, it's dirty, it's bad, and we're equally doing that barracks to bring it back to the modern barracks that is supposed to be. And several other police barracks all over the country that one after the other we are facing, because it's not possible for us to be able to do all the barracks because they have become so bad. If you go to Lagos, there are several barracks, but probably we're able to do one because of funding. A barrack that requires probably 200 million to do, and probably what you have in the totality of that year is 500 million. So if you have 500 million, you cannot be able to do all the barracks that you want to do. You probably 2 barracks, or you do 3 barracks. Some are renovated, some are painted. There is a barrack behind the force headquarters here. Since this barracks was built, it has never been renovated. Nobody has even. We have done that barracks. We have tarred the roads to give it the facelift that it deserves to have, and the officers and men, I'm sure they are much happier than they were before.
I would take you back to the internal security. You've talked so much about the transformation agenda, what you've done in the system, in the police. I know while you were explaining, you touched about the security issues in some of these northeastern states. We will not deny the fact that we had challenges today with incidents of kidnapping, armed robbery, terrorism, and communal clashes. Sincerely, do you think we are winning this war against these vices? Particularly, what has your own administration done in this wise?
We are winning the war. You remember, like I said, I admitted the fact that yes, there were challenges, and these challenges are evidence, people can see them. And some of the challenges that you saw, and that, like you did mention, some of the challenges are cases whereby bombing was the order of the day. Ordinarily, a knock on the door, people will get scared. But today is different. So, which means there are progressions in terms of achievements. If you talk about kidnapping, for example, yes, remember Delta and Edo were on the forefront in terms of kidnapping on a daily basis. Today is a different story. Most of these kidnappers have been arrested. They are facing prosecution in court. Edo is much safer than it was before. And this is all collaborative effort for the police, other security agencies, and even the state government. The same thing in Delta State. But relatively today is different. Much different from even when we started last year. So which means we have put in strategies and policies of fighting crime better than what we met on the ground. Our officers are exposed to more modern ways of fighting crime and the methodologies of doing it without being exposed to several other things. Along the line, naturally, because of the hazard of the job, we have lost several number of officers for one reason or the other. But we are still winning because even in case of act of terrorism, collectively with other security agencies, we have put in our best to ensure that we have reduced the number of attacks in most of these places. You remember when we came on board, there were several number of police stations being attacked. Today is history. But you cannot, because terror is one act that is all over the world. The best countries of the world, where they have the best of equipment in terms of manpower, in terms of funding, are still under terrorist attack. And it happens when you least expect it. So Nigeria is not an exception to that. And to the best I do know that progress has been made, achievement has been made, despite the fact that yes, these challenges are still there. There is no country of the world that there is no crime and criminality. And it's the way you face it and the way you go about it. And I think we have done so much in terms of progression in fighting crime and criminality in this country.
I will take you to the next question, which I think you've been passionate about. The Constitution clearly defines, I would mention Section 214, that the internal security of the nation is put at the doorstep of the Nigeria Police Force. However, today the reality is obvious. But particularly, sir, when the chairman Senate committee paid a courtesy call on you, you were emotional about it. You poured out your heart when you said other agencies seem to be taking over the responsibility of the Nigeria Police Force. What is it that you would do to ensure that the federal government sort this problem out?
I'm happy you quote Section 214. That clearly says there shall be the Nigeria Police Force and no any other police force shall be established. So it's simple and clear that any agency of government that will do or perform the duties of the Nigeria Police, the Constitution says is not allowed. And what I mentioned during the Senate committee meeting was that the police should be allowed to perform their constitutional responsibility of protection of life and property without any prejudice. And that relates to the fact that, yes, there are other agencies of government being created. There is no problem with agencies of government being created. These agencies of government, some of them have been there over time. But what I'm saying is there must be a limitation to where you stop. Let me give you an example of, say, the customs. If a police officer arrests any smuggler, to the best I know, by my training, nobody has ever trained me to become a custom officer. So by my training, what I do is to transfer officially the smuggled goods and the suspect to the customs and aid the custom with the statement to be able to prosecute that smuggler. The same thing with immigration department. Having to be the commissioner of police in charge of an airport, when my officers approached me to say that they have a fake passport, I wondered. I said, who told you it's fake? Who told you it's forged? Who trained you? Probably you passed this different police college that I passed. Yes, fine. But the syllabuses are same. But the syllabuses are different from cadet officers and others. But as a cadet officer, nobody has taught me the job of immigration officer. So therefore, I have a responsibility when you bring it. I said, take this passport, make a statement, transfer to the immigration department. That's all I'm asking. There could be areas of overlap, but the areas of overlap should be respected. Respected in the interest of Nigeria, not in the interest of the services. And if you remember the statement I made all the time, if the interest of all the security agencies of Nigeria is to make Nigeria safe and secured, then we should abandon our organizational interest and take the interest of Nigeria and Nigerians at heart. Then Nigeria will be more safe and secure than ever before.
Officer that is passionate about addressing corruption, but you've done almost 2 years. Would you beat your chest to say you've been able to reduce corruption to the barest minimum? Because we know that it's something that you can't eradicate because it's inherent in some people, no matter what you do.
Oh yes, I will. With the loudest voice, I will. First of all, the first thing we did, was to abolish roadblocks. And I believe by roadblocks, 80% of corruption have been taken away from the police. Then we were settled with the responsibility of going to where? 3 places or 4. 1, police stations, area commands, state CID, zonal CID, and 4 CIDs. Along the roads, you will agree with me that this is one area that Nigeria have been harassed, intimidated, and coerced to pay dues that ordinarily they were not supposed to pay. Along the line, the doubted Thomases believe that we cannot do without roadblocks in this country. But today, it's history and it's happening. The roads are much, much better police with less robberies and no corruption. I think we're the only management who has taken that bold step to say that no, things must change and must change for the better. because we must be able to reawaken and build an institution that can stand the test of time. And at the state CIDs and force CID and zonal CIDs, today we have been able to scrutinize and get officers that are worthy of being where they should be. Just because you are a policeman, you can be in the state CID, no. Aside from leadership, we say, okay, what do we do? All of you that are in the CID, we want to know whether you actually belong to the CID, whether you are desirable and by requirement you to be there. And we put the simple strategies that are supposed to be in place. Look at your person, look at who you are and what you are, and put you through the test of being an operative or being a detective. There is no way anybody who cannot read and write can become a detective. It's not, you can't be a policeman. It's not a possibility for you to be a policeman, because policing is not just about looking. It's all encompassing. It takes your mental ability and everything, and we weed them out. Sorry, you can't do it, because you have run through the simplest of tests. If you cannot define rape, then you cannot investigate rape, because the point to prove rape are there. If you cannot define theft, then you cannot investigate a case of theft, because you must be able to know the ingredients of theft or stealing for you to be able to get preponderance of evidence from the witnesses to say, yes, A has committed that particular offense. And I'm happy we did that very well.
You did it across
very well across the state CIDs. And today, you go to the first CID. From here, it will give an example of what the sample of what you should get in the state CIDs. And we're managing that very, very well. And we periodically assess, unlike what we don't do before. If we give you a case to investigate, how far have you investigated that case? What level of success have you been able to do? And if, for example, you're a prosecutor and you go to court and you lose one case, you must be able to explain to us the technicalities of why that case was lost. But before we lost the case, nobody's going to ask you questions, nobody's going to look at it. This time around, we want to know why. Because we cannot exhaust government public funds for nothing sake.
You've talked so much about what you've done, the policies you put in place. I've asked you these ones off the record when we had one-on-one chats. All the gadgets that you're putting in place. We know that continuity is a problem in our nation. How would they be sustained after your exit?
We believe we are building officers and men who, through mentoring, to see what we do that are right. Probably we make mistakes, but they should look at those that we have done rightly and be able to improve on such things that will make the force much, much better for this force.
The reason I ask you this, we've had IGs who come and say roadblock dismantled, roadblock banned, roadblock will come back again. And you've successfully done this for 23 months. The sustainability of this roadblock issue, is it possible? Okay. Is this something that another IG after you would want to sustain?
My answer is this take. What is roadblock for? If the IG who takes over after me or comes after me, professional police officer who has gone through the ridicule of the police and comparing policing in Africa or policing in Europe, what is roadblock for? Roadblock is a temporary measure where you put structures to be able to solve a particular incident. Thereafter, it's dismantled. And I used to say so. This is the only country of the world where roadblock has become permanent feature. You meander and you maneuver on the public highway before you passed on the road. So it will become increasingly very difficult for anybody tomorrow to come and say roadblock is bad with its bad menaces, because we have lost several number of people on roadblocks, innocent citizens who probably are not aware the roadblocks are there, or forgot the roadblocks were there, or the structures on the road are too many or so heavy that they cause accident, several accidents. We equally as a service have lost several number of policemen on the roads. Why? Because they have been pushed by vehicle, mashed by vehicle, and several other things. And I think it's gone for good, and I think it should go for good forever. If today with the challenges we have, it goes without it, and we're better for it. For anybody to come back and say that he needs roadblock back in this country, he'll be able to give reasons beyond doubt, convincing enough for Nigerians to say, oh yes, we agree with you, bring it back.
People feel the police don't want state police because they are a federal government agency benefiting from federal government. At the last scorecard session that you had in Asaba, you cited an example of why state police is not feasible now. You didn't say it's not possible forever. You gave example of the local government election where elections are conducted by the states, and so if we take that as an example, what they do, it means that if state police is allowed, is created, the states can also usurp that structure. The proponents of state police have also argued that the federal government is using the Nigeria police force in that wise for federal election. What's your take?
We have done an election in Edo. If federal government used the police, will the governor who is on the opposite party won? We have done an election in Ondo. It's a Labour Party. If federal government have used the police, will he have won? We have done another election in Anambra now. If the federal government has used, will Abga have won? They can say they abuse, provided this is what they want. But my stake is, we are not ripe for state police. And there are several reasons. And I have given you reasons. Now, let's take all these elections that I have even mentioned. Tell me any of these states that I mentioned where local government election will be conducted and another party who is not in power will win. Because appointees of government by the state are the one conducting the election. And therefore, the party officials in that state must win. And take, for example, look at the issue of what we had during the election in Anambra. 230 persons were arrested from Osun State with INEC ID cards, with some voters card. 230. For goodness sake, if we're a country of serious people where law and order is respected, what is these people leaving Osun State to Imo State for? Let's assume that there's a state police. Did you think the commissioner of police in Imo State, appointed by the governor of Imo State, will have arrested those people?
Yeah, but the federal police will be there. It's the responsibility of the federal police to check the excesses of the state. I've
asked one question. Those who are asking for state police are not asking for state police side by side with the federal government. They ask because all they want is the autonomy to be able to control the police in their states, in most cases. And I ask questions. There is no particular governor who has given a lawful instruction to the commissioner of police and it's not carried out. Unless you said, go and arrest A, B, C, D, Z, who has not committed any crime, the commissioner of police is not bound to take such orders.
Shall we take example of the River State issue, where the commissioner of police and the governor had a running battle? The governor alleged that he gave him a lawful order to go to the state assembly and provide security.
Was security not provided at the state assembly?
The governor says the commissioner...
You are talking about allegations, but the facts are there. So, but when you saw the governor in the state assembly, what happens? The essence of state policing is to make policing more effective in states. And it can still be done. What are we having in Lagos? State police? Is policing not effective? What are we having in Ogun? Is policing not effective? Take states that are very serious with the safety and of the security of the life of their people. Any state government that is very serious with the social corporate responsibility of what they should do, because the primary essence of government is safety and security of the people. So any state that has this, you find that things work much, much better than they should. And I say that's an overtime thing. Maybe with time, we'll be able to come back to the fact that, yes, we will create state police. And take note, the fact that you create state police does not mean that members of the Nigeria police will not have job to do. Some of them probably will even go back to their states. It is not easy to run the state police. Most of these states that are crying for state police cannot fund the state police. That is one stake people have not taken into consideration. Take Lagos. If the governor of Lagos give an example of how much money he spent on the police, or any governor who actually will buy 5,000 patrol vehicles and 4 these vehicles for the whole month. Don't forget, at the time you have state police, the policemen in that state are not going to take the same salary that you are paying them today. They will want to unionize at the same time.
Yeah, is there any law that says that officers in the force cannot unionize?
Of course you cannot. It's a regimented force. So when there is a regimentation, you cannot talk about that. There are several issues, but I believe that time will come for state police. When the time is ripe, state police will take place, and probably it will be better.
I know what CIB was. Apparently that was where I met you for the first time of my life. And you guys were doing wonderfully well until things, nosedived. Now, that system, I won't say it went moribund, but they weren't doing much until you came on board. These officers you're training today, you've sent them out to different countries. Some foreigners have also come into Nigeria to train them. But one very critical issue that the police has is the ability to keep officers in a particular section. It therefore means that most of them don't professionalize, apart from the medicals and maybe in transport. What are you doing to ensure that they don't migrate from the intelligence department to another department?
Once you're in the intelligence service, you remain an operative. If you are transferred from one intelligence department, you are going to another intelligence department. It was almost moribund, and that is part of the problem we suffered in the service. But we have done so much in that respect now that we're getting back much better on the ground, and I believe that more could be done, and we will not allow officers to immigrate. Professionalism, it's not too long ago we started from the Damadami report that we started professionalizing. So it's a time thing, even for officers to be able to find their feet, to know where they should key into based on their performances. This is what we are watching now, to see where can he perform. But for you to become a professional police officer, it's not a dormant thing in one place. Because if you become a specialist in, for example, investigation, and you are an ASP, you remain in investigation until you reach the rank of commissioner of police, you can't be there. Now, which means, even if you are there, because it's not one person, there are a group of number of persons.
Are you putting a template for a certain level of time and officers, and then they're transferred out of the section to go around?
Yeah, because you see, what we're doing now is, that's why we put a tenure for our officers to move around. We say in every 2 years, if you are in intelligence and you professionalize very well, and you are in Sokoto and you do very well, like I said, probably we have challenges in Benin. And that's why in all these areas, like we're talking of kidnapping, we're talking of armed robbery, we're talking of terrorism, we're talking of cyber crime, we're talking of child abuse, we're talking of rape and what have you. All these areas of crime, we are conducting researches for us to be able to see where are these things there, what was happening, so that we can be able to use it to strategize for 2014 and beyond 2014. So officers will move around to be able to professionalize and become professional police officers. He's good in administration, he's good in operation, he's good, but not time period will come to say, this is where he's his best. Then we should be able to key him and become a professional in that particular aspect.
They say a journey of 1,000 miles starts one day. It's obvious from the feelers, and of course knowing that when elections are about to approach, we have some political gladiators, coming up to ferment trouble. As a sitting IG now, what are you doing to ensure that you go back to the drawing board with your management and come up with a template for the 2015, of course from 2014 campaign starts?
That we're doing very seriously. I just want to keep to that, because you know what it is. We wouldn't want to throw it to the open, but that have been our thinking for couple of months back. Don't forget that a lot of people will throw banters at us, because if we are to protect the corporate entity of Nigeria, definitely those who agree for one reason or the other, like you said, the political gladiators will want to use the opportunity to say, we have not done this, but we will not be distracted.
A department was created, which is a G department. A G department is in charge of computers and ICT in short. ICT in force headquarters is good. What happens to state commands? If you go to police stations, you still don't have computers. Some of these files, some of their job is still done on typewriter, going out to look for who to type and whatnot. What is the IG doing to ensure that the goodies that force headquarters enjoy, these state commands are also carried along?
It's a time thing. I'm happy you say that you don't born a child today and the child start walking. It's a time thing. You remember that it is when we came on board, we initiated and introduced the ICT department, taking off with the challenges, setting off, strategizing. Up to today, we're looking at some of the duties being performed by them. There is a blueprint that the management is looking at very seriously, even though we looked at it before, but we're still fine-tuning to ensuring that all states are on board. You won't be able to see computers in all the police stations just like that, because computers are not just coming from up, they have to be purchased. And even in the best of the internet service that we have on companies, we still have problems in terms of service, because we don't have the best of providers as we think we have in this country. Even though someone will come and say this is the best of provider, but you still have interruption. Don't forget, it's only the police service that in every village, every hamlet you go, there is a police service. So before these things will go around to these places, it will take a number of time, but we're working on it. You can see from our public security system, which is part of the ICT department. From here, I can talk to every commissioner of police and see him facially and give instructions and even interview suspects from this office. So as far as I'm concerned, the ICT department is coming on very fruitfully on board with this result. And the cameras we are making efforts to ensure that all the states are being camerat, so that the ICT department can be more functional than it is today. But we need money.
Lastly, sir, what do you want us to remember you for after your retirement? You've been an IG that came in at a very trying period of the Nigerian police force. What exactly do you think your men, Nigerian people, should remember you for?
For the conscious efforts I have made to improve on the service of the Nigerian police and the welfare and well-being of my officers and men.
All right, sir, what is your take about CrimeFighters?
To the best I know, CrimeFighters have done what I expect them to do in terms of providing information and creating awareness and education on the part of Nigerians, a relationship between the police and the people. That is, I think, a job they have done very well.
On this note, we say thank you to the 16th Indigenous Inspector General of Police, MD ABUBAKAR, for granting us this very important interview.
Crime Fighters, the #1 security program on television.